Good afternoon. We are here for another episode of Be the Plug. My name is Preston Harris. This is
the real GM, Grayson Marshall Jr., the Metacognition Maven, the guy to get you to believe in you.
That's what he does. And so today we just wanted to go through a couple of things. Last week we talked about people who are on the edge and trying to get to the next level. What were the three things that you said that every single person who's an entrepreneur who's getting ready to jump needs to be aware of before they jump? Because I thought you said you had an extra one that you
I do have an extra one. So what I talked about was indecision, impatience, and inconsistency.
Okay.
But after we reviewed it and I thought about it, I want to add one more in to that, and that is insecurity.
Okay, why did you want to add that in?
Because I think that insecurity begins the whole process. When I'm not feeling good about myself, I become indecisive. If I'm not feeling good about myself, I become impatient. If I'm not feeling good about myself, I become inconsistent. So I think you have to add in insecurity as one of the main attributes, and I don't know whether that's the right application of that word right there, but one of the main features of someone who is not having the success they want.
So insecurity. So if insecurity is one of those things, how do we build confidence in that insecurity? How do we grow on that insecurity that we have right there?
So building confidence has got to come through repetition of good habits.
Okay.
I've got to practice all of the good habits that I can.
Okay.
So I become more confident, just like in sports. I become more confident if I practice what I'm doing as a basketball player, former basketball player. It was for shooting, balance, eyes, elbow, follow through.
Yeah.
That was just the mindset of it. So
yeah.
the more I did that, the more it was there, the more I understood or felt good about what I did, the more shots I took, the better I felt about it.
Okay.
So even if I was a little bit insecure about maybe factoring in the moment, I did enough practice to where I knew exactly how to shoot. So habit, ritual, routine, practicing good habits will move me into a more confident place.
So with my insecurity, what habits can I practice? Is that the habit of confidence? Is that just doing the right things? Is that affirmations in the morning? What's one tactical thing that
the first thing you have to do is you have to practice engagement. I think one of the things you have to do is just do something. Yeah. I think the biggest thing is you got to do something.
Feel the fear and do it anyway.
You got to do it. So at the end of the day, I'm going to do something. Right, wrong, or indifferent, I'm going to get. The more I engage, the more I reduce fear. So if somebody's afraid to swim, the more they get in the water, over time, the less they're going to have an innate fear of the water.
Yeah.
So I've got to engage. If I never get in the water, that fear remains.
So to eliminate the insecurity, you have to engage the insecurity.
And whatever it is, I have to engage, period. So whatever it is I want to do. So if I want to start a business, the one way I'm going to get over a business is go start a business.
The fear.
Whether it's part-time business, whether it's direct selling business. There's a lot of ways for me to experience business without it costing me a lot, but it's allowing me to engage.
Yeah.
Once I engage, then I'm going to have to define what my ultimate goal is based on my current positioning. Okay. So where do I want to be? What's my greatest desire? Now, can this vehicle that I've chosen give me that, or do I need to reassess the vehicle? All those things become important when it comes to me understanding what it is that I am. I'm more confident now because I took chances. I applied some risk to some areas of my life. Yeah. Didn't work out, but now I'm better because of it.
Yeah.
But I had to do it.
You had to take the chance. So you had to fall so you could get up.
And once you do it, now you begin to programmatically learn what it takes to maintain that. Because the more times you do fall short, once you get it, that now sits in your subconscious. Yeah. I know how to do it. So when I'm shooting, that feel all of a sudden gets there.
You know.
So I know it when it goes in. So when I've done it enough, when it leaves my hand, I know when it's wet. I know when it's that way. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think a lot of us are so scared to fail and scared of that failure that we don't even want to engage and take the risk. Because my thing is that I know how to do stuff just because I've fallen on my face so many times, but I'm not afraid to take that.
But you can't fall on your face if you don't engage.
Yeah, you can't. You got to take it.
So you got it.
So let's say I engage, and it's going rough for me. Like, it's just not working.
Okay, hold on. What's rough?
The
because you have no measure of what it should be like. Because you've never done it before.
Because you wanted to feel its impatience, because you wanted to
Correct.
feel good, because it's
Insecurity, indecision, impatience, and inconsistency. All four of them. So it's those four that are a building block of a piece you can go back to. So no matter what you have a response to, it's one of those four.
All right, I got this for you.
Okay.
All right. So let's say when I am disappointed, let's say I've engaged, I took the leap, didn't turn out exactly the way I wanted it.
And how was that?
I wanted all the money to be there right away.
Okay.
And
Impatient.
it's not.
Impatient.
But I'm disappointed now.
Okay.
I know it was because of disappointment. I mean, because of impatience. But now I have to deal with this disappointment. How do I deal with that disappointment?
Re-engage. You gotta get back up and do it again. See, this isn't deep. It isn't a deep process. It's just are you persistent enough? It's different, and it's contradictory to the 9 to 5 framing that we've had for so long.
It's not even different than the 9 to 5 framing. It's different than the framing that we've gotten our whole lives, because in school, it's I do this and I get this result and it comes back to me.
And school gave you a 9 to 5 framing. Look at the way school's set up. It starts at 8. By the time people get home from school, catching the bus, it's 4 or 5 o'clock. It's the same exact plan. There's no difference. They literally trained you to be in this mindset. Your best production is from 8 to 5.
That's not true for everybody.
Successful people, their best production before 5 a.m. and after 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, after 10 o'clock.
So the reality of it is that's people that are engaging and going to that next level. We've been conditioned to be that way. Here's the reality. Think about this. Your engagement in a job has its rewards every 14 days or twice a month.
Okay.
In business, you could go 2 or 3 years without seeing a reward. You know what I'm saying? You go 2 or 3 months without seeing a reward.
It's true.
So it's just a different mindset.
Yeah.
So what you would rather have is I know what I'm getting every 2 weeks.
Yeah, and that works for some people, and you have to do that for
Correct.
a certain amount of time. But I get what you're saying there, and I think that for me, it's the impatience because of that 9 to 5, we're used to that instant gratification, and it's because especially as a former athlete, we're used to be able to say, all right, I've been in the gym, I've been working on my follow through, I've been working on my stroke. Now it's just gonna go in for me.
Right. Well, here's the
And
biggest
that's
thing.
not the truth in business.
No, but here's the biggest thing. The biggest thing is you have an aversion to prove somebody wrong. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So you stepped out, nobody else did. They talked about you, they ridiculed you.
Yeah.
They put you on, so I'm prove you wrong. So you get impatient because you want to rub it in their face.
I do.
And at the end of the day, I think that's where a lot of people are. It was no different than when Nehemiah was building the wall, or when Job had his friends talking about him. He told him, his wife even said, you should just cuss God and die. Look at you. You got sore balls all over your face. He was scraping himself a pot shed. His friends were saying, what are you doing? But he knew.
What he was doing.
And he knew exactly what it was going to be like.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think in some areas we have that focus and that laser focus on things, but then we can't allow the distractions to distract us. And a lot of times the distractions for me are other people's expectations or even my expectations, because I expected it to be this way. It's not this way.
Because school taught you to be approval seeking. It taught you to search out the gold star. It told you to put the A on the paper. That's what you're searching for. So it's an unwritten, unconscious part of your mind that says, I need validation.
Yeah, and that positive reinforcement.
Correct.
And then when we don't get it,
You think you're doing something wrong.
you do feel like
You question yourself.
and it may not even be true. It's
Which
just-
goes back to insecurity, indecision, impatience, and inconsistency. It's a vicious cycle. And again, this is why my mindset is so important, and that's why I talk about mindset so much, because this is where the battle is.
Yeah. Yeah. So as far as mindset goes, what's one thing that if you're thinking about doing this, what's one thing you need to have for your mindset to be successful?
A big vision. And then understanding how to grow that to get there. Most people aim low and they hit it.
Yeah, that's true.
You gotta aim high. So I've gotta have a big vision. Now, again, your big vision might be not the same as my big vision. Your big vision might be big for you, but it still has to be big. It has to be something that's gonna stretch you. It has to be something that's going to cause you to be a little bit different than you are, think a whole lot different than you are, and execute more consistently than you have been.
And you have to be patient with that big vision.
No question. Look, if you're
you make it sound so easy.
If you're 31 years old, you got 31 years of bad stuff to fix. Why you think you're gonna fix it in 31 hours, 31 minutes, and 31 days? If you fix it in another 31 years, you broke even.
Yeah. I think I've been in this phase where, you know, when you've had success on a small scale, and then you move to that larger scale, you have to understand that lead time is a little bit different for your next success. And like for me, I'm one of those people, like I believe, like I know that if I start something, I'm gonna finish it. I don't know when it's gonna be finished. I don't care when it's gonna be finished. I know that if this is plan A, I'm gonna stick with plan A till it gets done. But what I'm realizing is that just because I stick with plan A doesn't mean I don't have the detours along that plan A to help me get to that destination.
But truthfully, and most people will tell you, that successful people have no plan B.
Yeah, you can't.
So there's a whole different mindset. Why? But school teaches us most traditional ways of learning teach you to have something to fall back on. Have a plan B.
Yeah, but you can't have something to fall back. How is that going to help you succeed if you always know you got this to fall back on?
And then therein lies the quintessential problem. That becomes the challenge. You know, there's an old story about the Spanish wartime, and the Spanish pirates were going to take over a country. And the reality was, when they pulled in, they got off of their boat
and burned them
and burned the ships.
Yeah,
this is how we can get back. We taking theirs. That's the only way we get back. So at times you have to create some sort of desperate situation, so to speak. But desperation can't become impatience.
Yeah, because they can tell if you're desperate.
Correct.
And people, I wouldn't feel like I'm desperate or being desperate, but that's how it comes off to people, and I don't think about that. But it's maybe because I'm impatient.
And anxiety comes that way. So remember, you get anxious when you get impatient. And the Bible says, be anxious for nothing, but in all things in prayer and supplication, that you make your request known to God with thanksgiving. And he'll give you the peace that will surpass all understanding. The biggest part about where you're going in life is simply this. Can I do this in peace? Can I grow in love? And can I succeed for myself and other people?
Because I don't want to do it for any, like, the goal is always generational wealth to make sure my people are set up for a long time. But you're right, like, you have to be able to absorb the process.
And that's why I talk about don't hustle, align yourself. Hustle is more of an individual thing. Yeah. And here's my question. Who can you trust in the hustle game? Nobody. But aligning, it allows you to bring God and other people in. It allows you to include and connect with people that can further the vision with their skill set, their abilities. And that's what we need.
Yeah, and then you have to give without expectation.
That's what alignment is all about.
That's what alignment is all about. It's giving without. So how do you give without expectation? I know this isn't what the questions are. So when you need something, how do you give without expectation when you're in need?
When I'm in need?
Yeah.
Well, here's what I realized. I've said a long time ago, I don't loan money.
No.
I either give it or I don't. So at the end of the day, I'm okay with what I'm giving. I'm giving because it's free will offering, is what I want to do. And why am I going to create a debt relationship problem with somebody if I'm trying to help? Why would I do that?
Because that's just putting pressure on you.
Or them.
Or them.
To want to pay you back to maintain a relationship. That's not helping. That's adding to the problem. I want to alleviate the problem. I want to mitigate what they're going through. I want to reduce the stress. Here, man, go do what you got to do.
So when you're in need, you can still give that way?
Sure. If it doesn't meet a need, there's got to be a seed.
Say that again.
If it doesn't meet a need, then there's got to be a seed.
So just a seed, so sometimes your gifts can be that seed into somebody else. So I always learned that, like, if you give, you'll always get if you give to people, you'll always get what you need.
Just not from the same source. See, here's what people do. If they give to you, they expect back from you. No. The Bible says in Luke 6:38, it says, give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, shall men give unto your bosom. We have a problem because here's what happens. I give money to the store, I receive gifts. I receive groceries. We're used to that exchange being reciprocal at the present time. Kingdom says, give, and it shall be given unto you. 99% of the time, where you give, it won't come back from. It'll come back in a different form or somewhere else at the time you need it in a different way. But it's because you gave.
Interesting. Okay, last question. As you were on your journey, you've shared with me that you've had some struggles. What got you through the struggles and what got you through those tough points? Because it's easy to say, your disappointment is just impatience. But when I'm actually disappointed about something, how do I really work through that from a kingdom mindset perspective?
I think Jim Rome said it one time. He said you got to learn to discipline your disappointments.
What's that mean?
You have to bring them into subjection and realize that you have control over how you feel about what's going on. I spent a lot of time crying. But crying was refreshing. It was cleansing. It was really letting go of the heaviness that I was holding on to. So I spent a lot of time. I spent a lot of time reading. I spent a lot of time in great conversation. And that's how I made it through. I stayed grateful for everything that was going on in my life, good, bad, and different. Gratitude is a thing that changes your physiology. Thankfulness is for the moment. Gratitude changes your physiology. It changes your posture. It changes your approach. It shifts you in a way that not many things do.
Okay, what's an easy way people can engage in gratitude?
You do it every day. Write a gratitude journal.
Yeah.
But you have to be honest about it, and you have to go back and read and reflect on it.
I have to be consistent.
Yeah, and you got to read and reflect on it.
Yeah,
it's one thing to write; it's another thing to meditate on. The Bible says in the Word, it says meditate on God's Word day and night. Well, I think that same applies for anything that you feel is going to be enhancing your life. Meditate in the Bible means to chew like cud, to chew cud, like a cow, over and over and over again. When a cow chews, it chews the same thing over and over again. Yeah. What we got to do is chew on the good things over and over again. Over and over again, over and over again. If you look at some successful people, they will tell you that one of the things that they do is pick out what they're going to wear the week before. Uniforms are easy for people because they don't have to think about it. Yeah. It changes what I have to think about all day long. So there's so many things that you can implement in your life that will give you an opportunity to restructure and streamline your thinking so that you can be focused on what you want to be focused on. But when I was down, I had a resilience and said, I'm not going to stay here. Yeah. But I cried often because of where I was. I cried often not knowing how I got here. I cried often angry that I was there. I cried often because I felt like there were contributing factors that were out of my control that had me there. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I owned it.
You have to.
It didn't own me.
Yeah.
And because I was patient. And what it taught me was to really understand what faith is all about. So now, what I look at is I have my perspective on it. But if it doesn't work out that way, you know what, guys, there's another way. I've just grown to that way. Because I've lost it all more than once.
Yeah, I've lost it a couple times. But I think the thing that Abraham Hicks always talks about is just finding one good thing. Like one good thing.
And focus on that thing.
And focus on that thing. And like, it's been a rough week for me, but...
We'll keep saying that and we'll continue.
Well, it was. But it would change when I started to think about, will this good thing happen?
So then do that.
Will this good thing happen?
But then do that.
Yeah, and that's what I think, especially we can get in these patterns of negativity because that's what we're surrounded by and bombarded with all the time.
We're inundated by that narrative everywhere you look.
Yeah, but finding the one good thing, and it's not being Mr. Brightside or it's not being Mr. Positive all the time, but it's just what I need sometimes to continue to go.
It doesn't have to be being Mr. Positive, but it is being Mr. Persuaded. I'm fully persuaded that things are going to be better. I'm fully persuaded things are going to work out. I'm just persuaded.
And you don't need that persuasion to move to anybody else.
I'm fully persuaded.
So you gotta stop caring what people think in that process.
And again, none of this is easy, but over time, the habit is practiced. The habit is engaged. And you become more proficient because you move it from the conscious to the subconscious. It becomes your default now. Whereas your default used to be something else, it's now this. So somebody really changes their diet and really moves into a vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, whatever they choose to do. Once they've really gotten there, it's second nature now. They don't even ask for the other stuff. They don't even look for this. Why? Because this is the new way I live. It just took me a while to get here, but this is the new way I live.
What's coming to my head is you have to fall in love with the process, and I think that is, when I played football, when I went from all right, I'm good to all right, I'm gonna dominate this game, was because I fell in love with the practice, I fell in love with the preparation, I fell in love with the process of it, and then it was like, all right, I can take over, and I think that's probably.
But because you fell in love with practice, you created good habits. Good habits then increased your confidence, so you weren't insecure. It increased your decision making because you understood what you were doing. It increased your patience because you were the man in charge, and then it increased your consistency because you did it every day. It just removed all four.
Thanks a lot, G. Well, that was good. All right. Where can they find you? If you're looking for a coach, this is why I go to him. He sees me more than he wants to, but that's okay.
TheRealGM.live, and that website was done by Preston Harris. So TheRealGM.live, contact me. Let's connect. I got a year-long program that's starting in January. Folks are jumping in left and right. It is overly affordable, and it's something you should check out. So inbox me. I'll hit you back.
What's your books?
About it. I got 3 books that are on Amazon right now. Number 1 is Do Positive. Just because the keys to the life you've always imagined. Number 2 is Maintaining Greatness, and that 4 was done by the incomparable Leslie Calvin Brown, Les Brown as you know him. And then Your Second Half, and that one was forwarded by Roberto Clemente Jr., son of the great right fielder, Hall of Famer, Roberto Clemente. And that's really talking about how to handle things in the second half of your life. And the second half of your life is when you really figure out that what I'm doing is not working and I need to do something different. So it applies to anybody, not just athletes, even though we use sports analogies. It's a little bit for everybody.
Okay. Preston Harris, Fee Motivation, Speed Training, Leadership Development, and the Real-Time app. Make sure you download that. I have 3 books as well. Define Your Value. Figure out who you are and define exactly what you want. Refine your value, align with the right people, and align with your dreams so that your dreams can want you. And then Jail Virgin, who the foreword was written by Grayson Marshall Jr. So those 3 books are great Christmas presents. They're great New Year's gifts as well. If you're going into your new season, you need to prepare your mind for that. And that's one of the things that I love about G is that around his house, you've got stuff all over that's positive, that's gonna put you in the right space. And when we get in the car, we're listening to stuff that's gonna put you in the right headspace. And we're always talking about how can we get better. And so when you surround yourself with those type of people, it's always good. Can we do a mastermind call? That's part of your coaching,
Sure.
and we can combine that. So what we'll do is, if you'd like to be part of the mastermind call, we'll do a mastermind where we just get together, we pick a time, and people can jump on board and share ideas, cross market, and plan on that. But if you're looking to get in touch with me, PHEmotivation.com. That's PHE, Prestige, Honor, Excellence, Motivation.com. So thank you very much for tuning in. Shout out to Justin Barnett because he did give me the name Be the Plug. And so Justin's out in Akron. I got to give him a shout out. Shout out to all your December birthdays. I'm on the 26th. And have a beautiful holiday season. We just wanted to give you some good information. I go see G a lot. And so some of the things that I'm asking them about, I just figured it would be good to share because I figured other people have those questions as well. So never be average because the world is counting on you. All right, peace.
See ya.